Ready for more scares and more fun? Here are 19 reasons to watch Creepshow 2. Hi everyone, I'm Dave Musson at Dave Musson on Instagram, and this is a place where I talk to you about all things Stephen King, and in this video we're continuing our walk through the movies and adaptations of Stephen King's work. And we've reached 1987, a year where there were 3 movies, 2 adaptations, and we're covering the first one here, Creepshow 2. Now I'll get on to the 19 reasons to watch this fun little sequel in a few moments, but first a very quick run through some plugs. So I'm going to try and keep these plugs as brief as possible. Everything you need to know is in the description, but the things I want to highlight for you are the Constant Writers podcast is back with season 2 at the time of recording, definitely worth checking out. You can also pick up my book, The Ultimate Stephen King Quiz Book, links are in the description, and you can sign up to my weekly newsletter that gets you indie horror author recommendations and short stories from me. Again, the link is in the description, and you get a free ebook of my fiction as a thank you just for signing up. I think that's everything. Oh yeah, and given that we're talking movies now, I've also decided to include my Letterboxd profile in the description, which I probably should have done from the start. So if you want to see what I'm watching and what I'm ranking and what I'm rating, then come follow me on there. I'll follow you back. Yeah, it's fine. Got to build an audience everywhere these days, haven't we? So as I said, we're on to Creepshow 2. If you want to see my 19 reasons to watch Creepshow, then it's right up there. So this is a movie from 1987, as I've already mentioned, and I'm going to give you 19 reasons to watch it. Now, as I try to do with these videos, any spoilery reasons will be clustered towards the end, and you'll get a spoiler alert. So if you need to bail because you haven't seen it yet, you can bail. Otherwise, you can watch the entire thing. Now, at the time of recording this video, Creepshow 2 is very easy to find on a bunch of streamers. Shudder, Arrow, Prime, Tubi, Plex. Like, seriously, just Google it and you will find it. Or of course, you can go and pick up the DVD so you can watch it whenever you like and not be beholden to the streaming machines. And of course, you can buy it or rent it right here on YouTube as well. I'll pop the link up there, just in case. Okay, enough waffle from me. Here they are, 19 reasons to watch Creepshow 2. So my headline reason is this: if you enjoyed Creepshow, you'll really like Creepshow 2. It's more King, it's more George A. Romero, it's more scares, it's more funny stuff, it's more iconic special effects. It's just more of what you would have loved from that one. So following on from the first one, Creepshow 2 is also an anthology movie. However, whereas first time around we got 5 stories, this time we only get 3. Now, for what it's worth, I think 3 is actually a better number for this kind of movie. However, I would say that of the 3 in Creepshow 2, only one of them would have been good enough to make it into Creepshow. So, swings and roundabouts. As it happens, the original plan was to have 5 in Creepshow 2. There were 2 more King stories that were going to be adapted into this, but for budgetary reasons, they were cut. So those 2 that were cut were The Cat from Hell, which eventually featured in the Tales from the Dark Side movie, which we'll get to in the not too distant future, and a story called Pinfall, a spooky bowling story that honestly sounds really good. So what do we have here? Well, first off we have Old Chief Woodenhead, a story about a little family-run store, a giant Native American carved out of wood outside, and a robbery with a nasty twist. It's an okay story, but for me, an odd choice as an opener, because this was the one where I did find my attention wandering slightly.
Chief says yate.
The second is, for me, the highlight of this entire movie, and it's the one story in here that is an adaptation of a published piece of King work. I'm talking about The Raft, which is an adaptation of the story from the same name found in Skeleton Crew. Now, this is probably the one most people think of when they think of Creepshow 2. It is the iconic section of this one, and it's the story of us following a bunch of horny teenagers going out to a raft in the middle of the lake and being trapped by a human-eating blob, oil slick, I'm not entirely sure. Basically, they're in danger. They're fucked, basically. But anyway, this one is the best one by far, and it's reason alone to watch this entire movie. Honestly, it is that good. So the final section is The Hitchhiker, a dark tale about a cheating wife who, while racing home from a night with her lover, knocks and kills a hitchhiker. She realizes there are no witnesses, so she carries on driving home, only to find out the hitchhiker isn't quite as dead as he might otherwise have been. Yeah, this one's quite fun. Let's talk about the cast for a moment. Whereas first Creepshow had quite a lot of notable and recognizable names and faces, this one has fewer. Some of those names include Tom Savini as the creep, and doing all the makeup of course, Dorothy Lamour in the final role before her death, and George Kennedy, meaning that across these two films we get two of the main guys from the Naked Gun series, after Leslie Nielsen of course was in Creepshow. We also get another King cameo as a truck driver in the hitchhiker section. It's nowhere near as memorable or iconic as his turn as Geordie Verrill in Creepshow 1, but it's still good to see him pop up.
What the fuck happened?
So one of the most famous bits, or infamous bits of trivia for Creepshow 2 is tied to the raft section. Now, actor Daniel Beer basically nearly died from getting hypothermia because they were filming in the water for so long. That water was so cold, his body turned green. But after a stay in hospital, he came back and he finished the section. What a pro. A lot of the soundtrack for this was provided by English prog rock royalty Rick Wakeman, he of Yes and occasionally of Black Sabbath as well. I mean, sure, it was the 80s, why not? Apparently, Arnold Schwarzenegger was considered for the role of Old Chief Woodenhead. Funnily enough, we wouldn't have to wait very much longer at all for Arnie to feature in a King movie. Lastly, before spoilers, I want to plug the effects again here. They're a trademark of the Creepshow series, and they are doing a wonderful job in this movie. Punchy, comic book, pulpy, gross, it's all here. Okay, so after this point, this is where things get a bit more spoilery, and I'm going to highlight some of my favourite scenes and moments and talk about how close it is to the book when it comes to the raft. So potential for things to be spoiled here if you haven't watched Creepshows 2 yet, so consider this your spoiler alert, and if you need to leave here, please do so and come back soon. Otherwise, stick around, because I've got a few more reasons for you to watch Creepshow 2. So in terms of comparing this movie to the book, we've only really got the raft section for it, and, well, it's pretty close to what we get in the short story, apart from a different version of the ending. So in the book, it's quite ambiguous as to whether the final survivor actually survives, and I do quite like that on page, but the version we get on screen, this more cinematic, triumphant monster movie type ending, yeah, it works really well. Actually, I'll use that as a segue for both my favourite scene and favourite line. I beat you.
I beat you!
Also, sticking with the raft, and now we're past the spoiler alert. Again, special effects. I mean, look at them. Yes! So we're blessed with a few Easter eggs in this movie. The obvious one is the mountain of Stephen King books on the headboard in the hitchhiker section. But the more eagle-eyed viewers out there will have noticed the Horlicks University apparel in the raft section. Yep, that's a t-shirt for the university mentioned in The Crate in Creepshow, and it's also a university that gets referenced in some of King's novels, particularly Christine and From a Buick 8. A slightly deeper cut is in the Old Woodenhead section. Now, the couple who own the store, their name is Spruce, and that is the maiden name of King's wife, Tabitha. So a couple of connections to other King works in the cast and crew here to mention. So obviously George A. Romero and Tom Savini were both involved in the first Creepshow film, and Romero would later go on to direct The Dark Half, which eventually got released in 1993. The other one to mention is David Holbrook, who is in the first section as Fatso Gribbins, classic King name. But anyway, his father, Hal Holbrook, is in The Crate in Creepshow 1. Lastly, while this one does have some flaws, and I reckon that the two cut stories would probably be better than Old Chief Woodenhead and The Hitchhiker, when it comes down to it, this movie does exactly what a Stephen King anthology movie should do. It scares you a bit, it keeps you entertained, and is a lot of fun along the way. Don't overthink it. This is 3 pulpy, campy comic book B-movie stories that are bound together by a cool wraparound story. And the overall thing, well, I can guarantee it will give you one thing in particular: a good time.
I counted 6 orgasms, and you probably had others. silently so I wouldn't get a swelled head.
So there we go, 19 reasons to watch Creepshow 2. Do let me know what you think of this one. Let me know which of the 3 stories is your favourite. Let me know what's your favourite scene, all of that kind of stuff. And yeah, just drop some words in the comments. Totally ran out of steam there. Things to promote before I go: the quiz book, the newsletter, the Constant Writers podcast. Everything you need to know is in the description, so do go and check them out. Hit me up on Instagram where I'm at Dave Musson, and hey, come and follow me on Letterboxd as well. I will absolutely follow you back, and let's swap movie reviews with each other. Next time we are talking movies again, and for some reason, we're going back to Salem's Lot.